Hello guys, and welcome to the next part. You probably noticed that I put on a different shirt. It's not because I just wanted to have some different clothes on. It's actually the next day. I was feeling so tired yesterday, so I thought I would have a break. In the last video, we did the thumbnailing. We did the small silhouettes. In this upcoming video, we are going to try to take 3 of our best thumbnails, and then we are going to try to refine the shape to find out what can we do with this design, and how should the clothes be, and how should maybe the face be, and how could it fit into the silhouette that we made earlier. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. And you can see that I set up a new Photoshop file or document where I have the 3 most favorite thumbnails in the corner. And this is a good idea because then you can keep reminding yourself how they look. If you don't have them on the page, it can be hard to remember how they actually look. I'm using a brush where the opacity is set to pen sensitivity or pen pressure. I can't remember what it's called. But this means if I gently use it, it will be more transparent. If I press really hard, it will be very dark, but it will also be thicker. So sometimes I do that because that imitates a pen quite well, but it's still not the same as a pen in real life. I find that you have a lot more control with a pen in real life. My sketches also looks like crap most of the time. Yeah, you can see this is not good, but it's okay because this is not the time to make a beautiful rendered drawing. This is just to experiment again. You don't have to make something really nice now. And in my opinion, when you're trying to refine the shape more, it's mostly about the head, because the head is where you have so much personality. And I mean, you already got the general body shape from the silhouette. So yeah, it's mostly about the face. And I'm also thinking about how should the beard be, because that's a big part of him. Most of his face is covered in beard actually. Well, in exciting news, I can tell that I had a really good breakfast. It was bacon and eggs. I feel so happy right now. So you can see that I'm trying to find out how the shape of his beard should be, because beards can have a lot of different shapes. I also found out that I really didn't like the eyes, so I'm trying with something different now. And you can give facial expressions and stuff like that just to make it more interesting. Yeah, he should be mean looking. But I still want kind of big eyes so you can relate to him in some way. And he should have kind of a friendly face and not too badass. So this face I could probably use for most of the silhouettes. Maybe the head should be a bit different in the middle silhouette. And I'm trying to get some of the I had the style guide I showed in the beginning, where I had a lot of reference. I'm trying to get that a bit in this silhouette. I mean, the mouth kind of reminds me of Wallace and Gromit. Maybe also the eyes because they're so big, and the nose a little bit because they usually have these round noses in Wallace and Gromit. You can see I zoom out a lot just to see how the result is from a distance. And I think that's a really good idea, just to give yourself a bit of a distance to what you are making and drawing. Mostly because it allows you to see at the drawing in a different way. If you're doing it on pen, you should probably just hold the paper, put the paper on the wall or something and walk back. I did this a lot when I was at the Drawing Academy. But in Photoshop you don't have to get up, you can just zoom out. That's nice. So I'm trying with a new head shape, and now I'm trying with a bit more round. beard instead of having this pointy thing downwards. And I'm trying with the eyes a bit lower to see how that works. And then I changed my mind and made the beard pointy or downwards, or what you can say. But this guy kind of looks cool, I think. But he looks very mean. He's not a nice guy. He's more like Bruce Willis in Die Hard, only in a pirate version or something. But I mean, he looks really cool as well. If I was making a badass one, I would probably choose this one. He could be a zombie or something. I'm also trying to think about how is the past and how do they have friends and how do they behave in different environments. I mean, how would he be in a bar, for example? Would he be friendly, or would he be shy, or how would he be? And I think he should have very big eyebrows. Should be very big and kind of all over the place. I mean, there's some stuff that I like about this one. When you're designing, you can also use tone to make to distinguish between what is what. You can see that I'm just drawing in the beard, because then it's obvious it's a beard. But you can also just get different tones. Let's say that you are designing a car or an airplane or something like that. You can use different values to kind of design a pattern on it, and that can also make it look a lot interesting. So I'm trying again, and this time I'm gonna add really big eyes and brows, and you can see it gets more rough when I just follow along. So this is not a beautiful drawing at all, but I mean it does what it is supposed to do. Well, I think in this case I could experience more about the head form. I mean, the head form stays quite the same, but I could try to make it bigger or more big in the lower part of it. I didn't really do that here. I mean, I keep almost the same head shape and almost the same beard, so that would be a way to improve it. But it's hard to say when you're in the process. You kind of get blind for these things. Afterwards you can see a lot of things that you could improve. And I mean, it's okay. I once for some time ago I always wanted to make the most awesome design ever. I wanted the character design to be perfect with no flaws and stuff like that. So I tried to work and work, but there is no perfect design. There's only designs that fits very well, and you can take a lot of choices to make the design convey the things you want to convey. But in the end, it can be perfect. I mean, it's an unachievable goal. You just have to settle it in some ways, because you can't have everything. So I hope that was not too abstract. So here I'm trying with a really small mouth. And I think only dots as eyes. But again, still I could work on the head shape. It also depends a bit about which of the silhouettes I'm going to use, because the two first of them has really squished down faces and really there's not that much opportunities in them. I mean, the last one has a bit more opportunities face-wise. In the two first one, the face is already settled in some way. I mean, you can still experiment. That is also what I'm doing. I'm trying to think about, this is a design for the third guy, and I'm thinking about how can his beard be, how can I make it cool or exciting and convey the stuff that I want. I mean, he looks pretty proud, so he will probably be a proud guy, but still he might have the issues of being a successful pirate. And I think that beard really fits that he's a proud pirate. I mean, he probably spends a lot of time just touching his beard and taking care of it to make it look that good. I mean, it's amazing what people spend on their beards. And he's also kind of fat. He's a fatty. So, I mean, maybe he's just high on life. He likes to have nice food, and he also likes to look good with his beard and stuff like that. He's enjoying life in the ways. But maybe he did it too much. He did it too much and never found the real treasure. But I really like this guy as well. I think maybe I could use both of them. I could use the first one and the third one as characters, and they could kind of fit together in this environment. That could be fun, but then probably one of them should not have a pirate a captain hat. So if I was to make a nice drawing, I would probably start out with making a construction instead of just starting doodling with the eyes that I did here. But I mean, this is just trying stuff out. I'm trying to find out which design I actually want to go with. Now I want to try to make something more finished. So I'm taking the silhouette and scaling it up so I can use that as a reference for the drawing. And then I set the opacity down just so I can draw on top of it and that I can see my lines still. I want to find out how he would look as a whole body or as a whole character, just because that gives a better idea of how the final design could be. And I always try, in every step of the way, I try to improve the design, and that's not only in the concept stages, that's also in the 3D stages. If I feel the character could benefit from any changes in the 3D phase, I will probably do that, but I will also keep to concept in some way. I mean, here I'm trying with the legs not that far spread out, and I'm also trying to get kind of curves in, but curves and straights. I mean, I'm talking about the lines now. You can see that I'm making a curved line, and on the opposite line it's a straight, and this makes a contrast between the lines, and it looks very interesting when it's done right. And that's also a thing you can play around with. It's a little design trick that you can use, but I think probably most people already know about this and are using it. So it's mostly for cartoony characters. You can over-exaggerate it, but in reality it actually exists as well. If you just look at your hands, you can see that the fingers have a straight and underneath they have a curve. So yeah, it's everywhere. I'm trying to find out how should his belt buckle be, and I'm erasing a bit. I want to kind of work a bit more on this one, because it could be that I was choosing this, but it's still a very rough drawing. I mean, there's not really that much to it. I like the head, it's so pointy. And then I wanted to get kind of the shape back, you know, the triangular shape that he has. And when he has this triangular shape, it kind of makes him look fast. It looks him spicy and not boring or cute or something like that. He looks like a guy who wants to do things. He wants to run around, and maybe when he's drunk, he's maybe the guy who is partying all the time and drinking a lot of beers. So he's probably not the quiet guy. He's the guy who wants things done, but still, I think he has trouble getting the things done in the right way. So I'm thinking about adding a bit of a lip in, and then having his beard around the lips. That's also something you see a lot in Wallace and Gromit and Aardman style. So I think that could probably be cool to have that. And I'm adding in some small things that could indicate where he's from. And I'm going with the mean looking face. I really love that you can design different skulls on their hats. I think who doesn't want a skull on their hat? That's pretty cool. That's also why pirates are so cool, because they have like skulls is their trademark. So I think I'm gonna save it and probably fit the last characters I did into one sheet. Because then it's just easier to compare. Or am I going for a new one? I think I'm going for a new one. So I really like that drawing I did. Well, I don't like the drawing, but I like the design of it. So I mean, that's something I could go with if I wanted to. The thing is that if you continue further on now, you will have to try and keep the design elements that you like from the thumbnail. It's very easy to forget about them and get caught in doing details on the model. But if you lose your general shape that you found in the thumbnail, it can lose the interesting parts that you did earlier on. So that's really a big trap to look out for. And here I'm trying with the fat proud guy. I think we should call him that. But I mean, he looks like he could probably defend himself if somebody were to attack him. And you can see I'm trying to enhance the proud things in him. I'm making his eyes kind of high, and it looks like he's looking up. Okay, now he has closed eye. I mean, yeah, I think I actually did that because he would look more arrogant in that way. That could also be an issue, that he was thinking he was oh so good, but in reality he wasn't. He was just a guy who didn't really accomplish anything in life. So I mean, you can see that I'm not really spending that much time on doing hands and stuff like that. I mean, hands is a really tricky part to draw, and I hate it myself. And sometimes I do it really bad, and then I try to correct it, but a lot of the times it's just easier to start over. I think eyes and hands are probably the most difficult parts for me. But here I can just get really quick in and just make some doodles. People generally don't notice that it's not really a good looking hand. You can also see at the drawing mostly to the right that his lower hand is kind of, yeah, it's